Hi, today I'm going to discuss about something very much essential in human life, but people are having very less understanding and awareness about this particular element. What it could be. Can you think about something you always need, but which is hard to get, yet easy to finish? What is coming into your mind when you are thinking about these scenarios? Something you always need, which is hard to get, but easy to finish. It could be nothing but money. Very important in our life today, right? But very difficult to get and easy to finish. There is a famous saying money is not the most important thing in life, but it does affect every possible thing which is important in our life. And there is no doubt that most of the people spend most of their adult lives working to earn money. If you think about any average person, between the most energetic time period they have between 18 to 45 or 50. Biologically, this is the best time period human beings are having to do something bigger. During this most valuable and important time period, almost all the people in the world investing that energy and time just to make money. So money should be something very, very important. Otherwise, why someone going to invest their entire adult life just to make money? What actually people say about money? Let me take you through some famous quotes about money. First of all, we hear this famous quote from most of the people around us. Money is the root of all evil. And George Bernard Shaw, one of the greatest philosophers lived in the planet, saying, lack of money is the root of evil. And one of the US dollar billionaire, Warren Buffett, is telling, if you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you will work until you die. A famous actor, Samuel Jackson, telling anyone who tells you money can't buy happiness, never had any, which means both money and happiness. Most people work just hard enough not to get fired and get paid just enough money not to quit. George Carlin. So there are different quotes and different sayings, different perspectives, different beliefs about this most important element in human life today called money. While I was studying about money, I found something very, very, very interesting. Financial issues actually contributing to significant portions of divorces in the world, which is between 20 to 40%. 20 to 40% of divorce cases are happening basically due to financial issues. Can you believe in it? In today's world, the origin of almost all the problem is caused by lack of money, especially for the average people. While money is this much important and influential in human life, after years of education in your entire life, what have you truly learned about money? What exactly you know about money? Have you ever asked this question from you? What do I know about money, which I am working in my entire adult life? If you have asked this question from yourself, what you have learned or what you have tried to learn so far about this element called money, from here onwards, because of the things I am going to tell you, don't get upset with me because I'm going to tell you the bitter truth today. Number one, you know nothing about money. Yes, you heard me. You know nothing about money. Not only that, you know nothing about money. On top of that, you have been pulled in your entire life about money. I know you are not believing in me. But let me prove it to you. At least from today onwards, you will know something about money. So I will not need to tell you know nothing about money anymore after today. If you focus next few minutes, keeping your mind open, I am going to educate you about what is very much important to you, but you had no idea what is it exactly. Before I educate you about money, I'd like to ask a very general question by keeping you in front of a scenario. What if you get robbed by someone? What action you would take if you get robbed? Yes, definitely. You will report the robbery to the police immediately and will request their support to find the people who robbed you, right? Despite which country you're coming from. But my question, what if you get robbed, but you have no clue? What action you can take? Nothing, because you have no idea you are being robbed. What if I tell you you're being robbed even right now? Would you believe in me? I know you are laughing in your mind, but I'm telling you the truth. You are being robbed exactly right now also, but you have no clue. So you are so relaxed and enjoying this video. As you are not going to believe in me easily, let me show it to you through some expressions people are using. So you can understand how people are going to express that they are being robbed, but they have no idea. I think you are familiar with most of these terms and sentences. My salary is on a seafood diet. I see it and it is gone. The month lasts longer than the money. I get paid on Friday and I am broke by Monday. These are not just funny sentences they are telling to other people just to have some fun. These are having deeper meanings, deeper expressions, deeper experiences in their general life, including you and me. If you are generating any income at this point in your life, either you are working as an employee for a company or organization, or you are doing your own job as a self-employed or freelance, or maybe you are running your small medium business. I am going to tell you something which can make you shock. Did you know that you are being paid not via actual money, but via a form of loan that you need to pay back? You heard me. Did you know that you are being paid via not actual money, but via a form of loan that you need to pay back? If you're not clear, let me clarify it to you. From here onwards, I am going to share you some dark secrets about money that you never knew before. Number one, if you are someone who trades a skill, knowledge, and time to generate the income, you are creating the real value through your labor. But what you have been paid in return was not real value. It has been a form of a loan which you need to pay back. I know it sounds crazy and complicated to you right now, but within next few minutes, you will understand them very clearly. You have been robbed, but you had no clue. If I ask you a question, we have two terms in the society, money and currency. Do you think they are referring to the same element or they are referring to two different elements? What do you think? What is your perspective? First of all, you need to understand money is not currency. Then what is money? Money is having an intrinsic value, a store value in it, such as gold, silver, platinum, rice. You can break them, but still every part is having a unique value, intrinsic value, store value in it. Currency is just a tangible form of money. When people are going to do trades, people cannot carry 100 grams of gold or 1 kilo of rice to buy something else. So the tangible form of money was a necessity. So at a point in our history, the tangible form of money, currency, notes, and coins came into the picture. So this tangible form of money called currency is the representative of real money. Now what we need to identify is currency actually representing the real value of the money, or is it two different things in today's world? With that, I'd like to ask another question from you. Did you know what exactly happens to your money after you deposit your money into a bank? I know most of you are using bank accounts, and most of you are saving your money in bank accounts, or you are doing transactions via bank accounts, cards, and all other means related to the financial system. So what did you know? What exactly happening to your money after you hand it over to the bank? Before I educate you about what exactly happening to your money after you hand over your money into a bank, I'd like to ask one more question to open up your mind. Can ordinary people, average people in the society, print money? With this question, let me take you through a video which is going to educate you about the historical evolution of money and currency, and at which stage the relationship with money and currency was broken forever. With that incident, how currency became something has no connection to money, or how currency became worthless.
At Bretton Woods, New Hampshire, delegates from 44 allied and associate countries arrived for the opening of the United Nations Monetary and Financial Conference.
After the Second World War, the United States had emerged as a financial superpower, having accumulated over 80% of the world's gold supply. And so, they would sought to position themselves as the leader of a new global monetary system, one that would promote peace and stability, that would help prevent the outbreak of another war. To negotiate this new system, 44 nations from around the globe would travel to Bretton Woods in New Hampshire, where they would all mutually agree upon a new framework by which the world's currencies were exchanged and valued. Under this new system, nations, instead of pegging their currencies to gold, as had been done under the gold standard, would instead peg their currencies to the US dollar, which, in turn, was pegged to gold at $35 per ounce. The world was effectively back on the gold standard. Countries could trade their currencies for US dollars, which then could be exchanged for gold. The US dollar was now the world's reserve currency. However, fast forward 30 years and history would begin to repeat itself. Much like the Romans, the Chinese, the Spanish, the British, the Germans, and all rulers and governments that have come before, the United States fell into the same trap. They began to spend beyond their means. Overly ambitious projects like the Great Society, social programs aimed at eradicating poverty were introduced, and the Vietnam War, a geopolitical conflict aimed at stopping the spread of communism, began to soak up vast sums of government expenditure. Foreign nations, realizing the US government had printed more money to fund these ventures than they had in gold reserves, would begin to panic, and started the process of swapping their dollars for gold. With the nation's gold reserves being depleted, Richard Nixon, on August 15, 1971, would address the nation via television and declared that he was stopping the international convertibility of US dollars into gold.
Accordingly, I have directed the Secretary of the Treasury to take the action necessary to defend the dollar against the speculators. I have directed Secretary Connally to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold or other reserve assets, except in amounts and conditions determined to be in the interest of monetary stability and in the best interest of the United States.
With the dollar's link to gold being severed, the Bretton Woods system had come to an end, with the age of fiat currency now emerging. All the world's currencies were now backed by nothing. What would result is one of the greatest heists in history, an act of deception so big that even Machiavelli would look on with astonishment. No longer would governments around the world have to raise excess funds via taxes, something Machiavelli had warned against. Instead, they were now free to print as much money as they wished. They could now steal their population's wealth without them even realizing it, because although the amount of money in their bank account stayed the same, the value of that money went down. For example, if you had saved $1 in your bank account in 1913, the same year the Federal Reserve was created, that dollar would only be worth 4 cents today. In just 100 years, the dollar has lost 96% of its purchasing power. But since 1971, the United States government hasn't just printed a lot of money. They have embarked on the greatest spending spree of any nation at any point in recorded history. Let's take a look at their national debt. Since its founding in 1776, through the American Revolution, the Civil War, as well as the First and Second World Wars, by 1971, the US national debt stood around $400 billion. What had taken nearly 200 years to accumulate would now be dwarfed by comparison. Just 50 years since the dollar had left the gold standard, the national debt now stands at $31 trillion. There were no world wars, no Great Depressions, but with fiat money now under government control, they had managed to accumulate $31 trillion of debt. So, what are the costs of this? Well, the cost is inflation tax. The more money the government prints, the less the dollar is worth, and the less the dollar is worth, the more expensive things become in relation to the dollar. In other words, prices will keep going up as your purchasing power goes down. It's a sneaky way of taxing your savings without the government having to take the money from you directly. As you can see, when money is sound, that is, backed by something of intrinsic value like gold, prices remain stable for hundreds of years. People were able to save and hand that money, that store of value, down to the next generation. But in 1971, that all changed, and prices began to take off. Take Campbell's soup, for example. Prices remained relatively stable for decades, but then 1971 rolls around, and the price begins to explode. What's worse is inflation tax doesn't just show up in the price. You can also have something called shrinkflation, where the price remains the same, but the product is reduced in size. Whether it's electricity, food, or fruit, the case remains the same. Since 1971, prices have begun to rise. But it's not just consumer items that are affected by inflation tax, it's everything in the economy. Since 1971, productivity has increased by nearly 250%, but compensation has remained flat. Productivity has increased, but compensation has moved sideways. This can also be seen in the cost of education. While the average earnings for those between 22 to 27 years old have barely moved, the cost to attend higher education has skyrocketed. Most young adults today now have to saddle themselves with massive debts just to be able to afford to go to college. And then when they graduate, they face another huge problem: the cost of housing. Since 1971, the value of homes has gone parabolic, far exceeding income growth during the same period. In the 1950s, 60s, and 70s, it would take on average 2.5 years of your labour in order to save up and purchase a house. By 2020, that figure has risen to 7 years. House prices have risen so much, you now need to work nearly 3 times longer just in order to buy the same house. The American dream, the old tale of each according to their own ability, where an average family could accumulate a modest fortune and own a small plot of land with a house and a little white picket fence, was now out of reach for most Americans. The American dream was slowly turning into the American nightmare, where even the most basic of goods and services were becoming unaffordable for the average citizen. So, what did they do? They turned to debt. Easy credit that would allow them to live the same life as their parents. While everything got more expensive, Americans would borrow and borrow, while accumulating the most debt of any generation in history. Inflation hurts everyone, but it hurts one group in particular the hardest: the poor. The wealthy know the game that is being played. And that's why they protect themselves against inflation by owning assets, such as gold, real estate, stocks, Bitcoin, and rare art. When the government prints more money, these assets on average over time increase in value. But for the poor, who hold most of their wealth in cash, the value of their money is totally destroyed, and they are crushed by the rising cost of living.
Inflation is the most destructive disease known to modern societies. There is nothing which will destroy a society so thoroughly and so fully as letting inflation run riot. Inflation doesn't arise because you got consumers who are spendthrift. They've always been spendthrift. It doesn't arise because you've got the businessmen who are greedy. They've always been greedy. Inflation arises because we as citizens have been asking you as politicians to perform an impossible task. We've been asking you to spend somebody else's money on us, but not to spend our money on anybody else. Everybody talks against inflation, but what he means is that he wants the prices of the things he sells to go up and the prices of the things he buys to go down. The real tax on the American people is not what you label taxes. It's total spending. If Congress spends $50 billion more than it takes in, if government spends $50 billion, who do you suppose pays that $50 billion?
Of course.
The Arab sheiks aren't paying it. Santa Claus isn't paying it. The Tooth Fairy isn't paying it. You and I, as taxpayers, are paying it indirectly through hidden taxation.
To give you further insights, let me break down what you heard and learned from last 10 minutes, in line with the questions which I asked from you before I connect you with the video. I asked you two questions. What exactly you know about what is going to happen to your money after you hand it over to the bank? Second question I asked from you, whether you can print money as an ordinary person. What actually central banks and commercial banks in the world doing? Aren't they printing money out of thin air? How can that be logical? How can that be legal if average people, ordinary people, can't print money? If an ordinary person, which means you and me, going to print money, we will be locked up and punished. But central banks and commercial banks in the world printing money as much as they want out of thin air without having any relation to the real value. So how this started to happen? As you heard, before 1971, the central banks could only print as much as currency they had as gold reserves to back up it. Because of this, the currency, the representative of money, was having a direct connection to the real value, which is money. There was a proportion, standard proportion. But in 1971, as you heard, Richard Nixon, who was the president by then in United States, remove the bond between the currency US dollar and the real money, which was gold. We call gold a standard to US dollar, was removed since 1971. Since then, currency has been backed by nothing, which means currency is just some kind of a paper note or some numbers that banks and everybody typing in their system. It has no real value. Today, commercial banks can print as much as money they want. There is no regulation. So what is the impact of it? When central banks or commercial banks going to print as much as money they want as physical currency or digital form using the numbers in the system? who is going to add the value to this representative form of money or the currency? Because currency no longer having the direct proportion to the real money. There are no gold standards since 1971. But yet, we are using currency as the representative of money, which is the real value. So then, what is bringing the real value to this currency, which is not connected with the real value? Nothing else other than the labor power people are going to bring in by trading their skill, knowledge, and time. Remember one thing, machines or any form of technology cannot add the real value into currency. Only possible way in this world to add the real value to this worthless form of money called currency today is the labor power, which means average people's knowledge, skill, and the time contribution to generate a product or service will add the real value to this worthless form of money called currency today. If you are still not clear, let me clarify it further to you. Currency in the form of paper and coins only make up to 3% of world's money. If we consider the whole amount of money in the world, only 3% will be represented by the total amount of paper, notes, and coins. So, what about the 97%? That is debt. What it means? Imagine you want to buy a house. Very simple. A bank gives you a 500,000 US dollar loan to buy your house or build your house. So, you're taking the loan. So, this 500,000 US dollars was not in the bank before. Then simply it was created by typing few numbers on the screen in the bank system. So when you get a loan, you get money that has been created out of thin air. Listen to me. Who's going to add the value to this newly created 500,000 US dollars? You. How? When you're going to pay back this loan through installment to the bank, you are actually paying the real value, because how you generate that income by trading your skill, knowledge, and time through the labor power. So you are the one actually creating the value, giving the value, inserting the value to this fake 500,000 US dollars. On top of that, you are paying some interest also. That is so funny. Remember, this is what exactly happening everywhere in the world. Are you not feeling angry about this? It is exactly like what I mentioned to you. You have been trading your knowledge, skill, and time through the labor power and was generating an income. But that income or the money you have been paid was not actual money. It was a form of loan that you need to pay back. It is not just about the bank loan that you have taken to buy your house or build your house or buy the vehicle. The labor power you contributed to create a product or service. That income also coming as a hidden form of loan. You're paying the real value to fill that empty currencies. So if you understand this well, you should feel so angry about this entire system, because it is robbing you, stealing from you every second in your life, even right now. So why I told you, you know nothing about money, but not just not knowing about money, you're being even fooled about money. While you're working so hard to make money and save money, banks were printing and squeezing the value of your savings. More money you make by trading your labor power, and saving them for your future benefits in the monetary system, banking system, what they do, keeping it as the collateral, they are printing more and more money to the society. They are flooding fake currencies to the society. So what is going to happen? They are squeezing the real value and they are creating fake currencies to the society and squeezing the real value. Average people trade their time, skill, knowledge through the labor power to make money and saving it in the bank. So instead, printing more and more worthless currencies and flooding into the society by banks, they are investing your real value that you are saving in the bank in real assets which can generate more cash flow towards them. I know how you feel right now. You feel helpless. Maybe you are thinking, if it is the true, what I can do with it? It is the system. How I can change the system by myself. How I can fight against it. I am just a very simple, helpless person. It is an excuse you are giving to yourself to become a victim and make your future generations also victims of this fake monetary system. What exactly you can do to get rid of from this fake game that banks are playing? First of all, you need to learn and understand the game the monetary system, banking system is playing in line with governments. And then second thing, you need to learn how to invest your money to build more assets which create a cash flow towards you instead of saving or working for it. That is what exactly rich people do. Even the monetary system owners are doing. They invest our real value in assets and generate a cash flow. How to do it? Good question. That is what you need to study and learn. It was not educated to you through the traditional education system because it was well planned not to give this education to the mass majority of the people in the world. It was under the propaganda. Everyone in this society going through the traditional education at least for 10 to 15 years. During these 10 to 15 years, what we have been taught to believe in about money was exactly what they wanted us to believe in money. If you are still believing in what you are asked to believe in through that time period, through the traditional education, you are actually being fooled and you are keep becoming a fool and playing according to their beat. I hope I made enough sense to you today, and I wish following what I shared with you today, you will take at least one step to move yourself from where you are right now to be in a better place by creating assets. Have a great day. We'll connect with you with another interesting video.